On the occasion of the celebration of Greek Independence Day, we will talk about Krifos Skolio. Who knows what Krifos Skolio is? Yes, Anna?
When the Greeks were slaves under the Turks, before the revolution of 1821 and the independence of Greece, many Greek priests were teachers secretly inside the churches. This was happening because the Turks didn't allow the function of the Greek schools, where they were teaching the Greek language and Christian doctrine.
And what do you think was happening at that time? Yes, Mario?
Well, I think that the children were running into the night in the church, trying to be hidden from the Turkish policemen. And inside the church, the priest was giving lesson to the children and were giving them things regarding our history, Jesus and other things that we do in school. This was happening because we were under the Ottoman rule, and leaders of the Greeks were Ottoman people and not Greek. We're not Christian and they don't like us and Jesus.
Thank you very much, kids. Now, let me tell you some parts of the story that you probably don't know. First of all, it wasn't the Turks, but the Ottomans who were in Greece. During the Turkish occupation, there was generally a significant decline in the education of the Greeks. Homes of education were maintained mainly within the church and mainly the monasteries, which are described as shelters of scholars and letters. In 1608, the existence of small Greek schools where monks taught was mentioned. The schools during this period operated under the auspices of the church mainly to prepare executives for its needs, as the Patriarch of Constantinople had been appointed head of the Millet nation, of the Orthodox subjects of the Ottoman Empire. Of course, as it is pointed out, in order for the Christians to maintain their religious institutions, legal and illegal money had to flow steadily from them to the Ottomans, even to the Sultan himself. On the other hand, the non-prohibition of the establishment of schools is not related to the secret school, as the Ottoman regime was not a constitutional regime, so that in the form of a contract between the Sultan and the conquered, it provides or does not provide anything. The privileges granted by the sultans do not have the content of an individual right, but are privileges of the patriarch or of a community and are valid on the condition of complete submission. Thus, it is found that in various provinces and at times there were serious obstacles and even school destruction. The only Orthodox organized school was the Patriarchal Academy, Great School of the Nation, after its re-establishment in 1454. From the end of the 16th century, handwritten and official testimonies that survive and deal with the state of Greek education confirm the establishment and operation of Greek schools. The second, and especially the third decade of the 17th century, is characterized as a period of spiritual rebirth of Greece, with Greek education experiencing significant improvement, then continued in the following decades. From the 18th century, the number of schools increased, so much that it was recorded that in 1806, each city had at least 2 or 3 schools. In Greek history, the term Krifo, Skolio, which literally means secret school, was a supposed underground school for teaching the Greek language and Christian doctrine, provided by the Greek Orthodox Church under Ottoman rule in Greece between the 15th and the 19th centuries. In the spread of this term was a great contribution of the homonymous painting by Nikolaos Gytsias, created in 1886, but also of the folk song and the most famous lullaby, My Bright Moon. It is true that in the first years after the conquest of Istanbul by the Ottomans, the conditions did not favor the systematic operation of schools, except in some cities. During the Ottoman occupation, there were official Greek schools founded by the private initiative of the Greeks and the Church. The provision of the main purpose of preparing for the needs of the Church did not meet with the reaction of the central authority of the Ottoman Empire. However, it is considered possible that in some cases, Ottoman officials in remote areas obstructed or banned the operation of schools for a variety of reasons, often related to the disruption caused by the liberation movements. In the 16th century, as I said before, the situation began to improve. In particular, after 1570, the church began to establish schools and monasteries and temples for the teaching of reading and writing. Of course, there were objective difficulties. While the central government of the Ottoman Empire did not appear to have hindered the education of enslaved Greeks, most of the times the creation of a school was dependent on the will, behavior, and interest of the local Ottoman official. In 1675, with a special firman, the Sultan ordered the local officials of some areas to leave the Greeks free to teach letters to the children at home. It was the so-called home teaching, a kind of private lesson, we would say.
Why then we learn in school about the existence of Krifo Skolio and that the Ottomans didn't allow the Greeks to go to schools? Is this a lie?
No, this is not a lie. As I told you, Krifo Skolio has been presented as a legend, where the church was helping the continuation of the Greek identity to be alive during the Ottoman conquer. However, it seems that it is a myth that gave birth to the need for national identity and strengthened the dominant Greek Orthodox tradition. However, we can admit that in some cases there were incidents of violent actions against the education of the Greeks, but as not an overall and general statement of the Ottoman rule in the Greek Orthodox area.